Hey guys, welcome back to another Final Fantasy video. Today we're going to be bringing you the top 5 win cards in Final Fantasy currently. Now this is again going up to Opus 4, and I have my normal disclaimer down there. So without getting into it, I'm just going to breeze right into the first spoiler. So we have Aerith. Now this is a card that you might be going, why the hell is this the first one featured? And yes, it is a card that is strong in itself. So again, that's kind of why we're featuring it. But this card is somewhere between. It's going to save you against a couple cards versus it will win you the game just by playing it, kind of like Minwu does. Now, yes, Minwu is infinitely the better card by comparison, but if you ever going against like Mono Fire and they have the different red mages and black mages you got to battle through, you know, Lightning has Heroic Lulu. Okay, first off, if you play this against Heroic Lulu, you're going to have the best feeling in the world. I'll just say that because it's just going to turn off their entire game plan. It's one of those cards that you can just keep it as a 1 or a 2 of in your deck. Again, it can just absolutely be that silver bullet that you're going to need in some matchup. So yes, if we had a sideboard, this again would be one of those things. I think it's immediately a sideboard card, but in every win deck that I at least build, that's not just going to be using some list off the internet that did well, and because I want to see how it does, I will always include some number of Aerith in my list. Keeping with the backups, we then have Oracle. Anyone who's played this card can appreciate the power behind it. It's a 2-drop, you get to play it early, and with this effect, you get to activate all characters. Now, keeping in mind, this is going to be your forwards, your monsters, your backups. This allows just a plethora of plays that give it the power and availability that you want to have and win. So again, if you're in the mono win strategy, you can just play a bunch of backups. It's all about that reactivation theme. If you're going against Ice, you can freely attack and not have to worry about them play a Zalera or something because they play Zalera first. You Oracle, get out of it. If they have Jill, you can get out of it that way. It just can stone cold shut them down. But also, it puts you in this position where you have forwards, you're maybe kind of going back and forth in this grindy matchup. You can now swing with your bigger bodies and always threaten to have Oracle activation on the ready. So it does give you those turns where maybe you swing all the way out, they force you to use your Oracle because you want to get those points of damage. You swing with just a couple forwards so your opponent has a difficult time on the backswing. There's so much that this card is going to be doing for you. And it's a common, and you know, there's going to be some other cards that we feature as commons, but it's extremely rare that we see such a powerful card in the common slot. So I thought Oracle was worth mentioning. Another card that is an absolute favorite of mine to play, and is again going in every single one of the win decks that I play. And I promise it's not just because of the character that it is, but it's Zidane. And anyone who, again, who's played this card and you got to rip like that Shantoto or that Cloud of Darkness from your opponent's hand, or just having that information, at the end of the day, that's what makes this card so great. It's the information and getting to remove that key card from your opponent's hand. Obviously, if they only have, say, 2 cards in hand, it might not be that great. Or maybe if you notice your opponent's been holding onto a card for a couple turns, they're waiting for the right answer to play. It's just really great at forcing them to, A, play that premium removal at an opportune time, and maybe discard the rest of what they have, and then it gets a bigger body. But most of the time, you want to be grabbing in those key cards like Shantoto. Maybe they have Minerva that they're stuck on. Those bigger, powerful cards that it still gives you a body at the end of it. Zidane is one of those cards that it really helps, or does best, I should say, maybe those like 3-drop Bartz strategies where you need to be putting a lot of guys in the field. Maybe you want to see if it's clear to go for it yet. I actually really loved going Pain into Zidane into a Tidus on the next turn, just so I can see if they have that Odin or not, or whatever it might be. Just get it out of their hand. Zidane really helps clear the way for your key cards. It can really offset your opponent's game. Speaking of Bartz, we're going to be featuring the 5-drop one, which I realize might be prime choice based on, you know, do you want to be going off of the Build-A-Bartz strategy like Max and Co. are so popular, or do you want to focus more so on just the EX burst and just being a big body? I had to give it to the 5-drop Bartz for a number of reasons. One, it's an EX burst, so it's always going to be great. And yes, it is only win characters, but again, that's going to be forwards and backups. You can build the deck in that regard. But it's just a big body. So let's take it into consideration if you were playing a wind-heavy deck, kind of thinking back to those Opus 2 meta where we had a heavy wind water deck that also had Warrior of Light in it. You get to play Bartz, you're at 5 backups, you have the 2-drop Yuna plus 4 wind backups. You slam down Bartz, untap your 4 wind backups, get to play another 4-drop, and then get to continue on with your turn. We've seen this be a very popular card also in the mono wind deck, so you can go things like Bartz and Akane-san into a Minerva if you want to be really cheeky. Justin, I'm looking at you. And some of the other strategies you can do that way, but it offers so much in kind of both those offensive and defense capabilities. So again, maybe you're going to attack first. Maybe you have a couple wind forwards that you want to attack with. Post combat, you can play Bards, and suddenly you have all these attackers again. So all around, just a solid card that I think is worth considering. Now again, it's very strong when you're obviously in those other mono win strategies or heavily win favored, but I think it's worth getting the spot as well. And the last choice, which I think a lot of people are going to either absolutely love or absolutely hate, depending on what side of the card you're on for this, is the Kobold Droid Yin. Now, this is a card that we've talked about quite a few times in different videos, and just for how powerful it can be and just getting in points of damage where you might not expect it. So it's a 1-drop and it only costs 1 to activate. So I want to say again, this isn't one of those things that it's not going to come into play and immediately do something. You have to wait a turn to attack with it. But for the way it matches up in the meta currently, so that is kind of the one caveat I'll add here, it really does a lot for your deck. There's many decks that just don't have something that can block this outright. It just can get through for points of damage, or they have to waste like a 4-drop Odin on. And if they're wasting one of their best removal spells in the game on something that you've invested very little resources in, you're probably coming out ahead with that trade. So I think that this monster absolutely worth mentioning here again for this rare spot, and it's one that I think we're going to see more of it as we go forward. I'm expecting that we're going to see more monsters in the next Opus set. Maybe we see more effective monster removal to kind of counteract some of these, or maybe people just start playing, Rama, the Lightning Summon that can break monsters, or some of the other ways you can do it. Who knows? But I would not be surprised at all to see this card in the next meta. And then I did want to kind of do our honorable mention here at the end. And it's again, I want to talk about cards that are individually powerful and how strong they can be by themselves. So Chaos Walker of the Wheel is kind of another one here where if your opponent has a few cards in hand, or maybe you played a Zidane into a Chaos Walker of the Wheel, you just take their forward, kill their other forward, and play. They don't have anything to play. Sure, that's fine, but it's still requiring you to rely on another card. Chaos Walker of the Wheel has been insanely popular thanks to the 5-drop, which I did want to include here. I'll add a second note about that in a moment. And getting to remove that forward from the break zone, so they don't ever get to play that additional forward for free. It's an EX burst, it's a 3-drop summon. It's a card we all know and love, and mono win decks are playing it. So it is a card that we're seeing outside of the YRP package. Now that said, I did include Riku and Pain here as well, because they do play into that package, and they are the best options for it. Riku, early 2-drop backup, it turns on the combo, and Mug and milling a card really isn't that great. It's just an enabler, and that's why I didn't want to mention it. And then Pain is one of my favorite win cards, probably one of my favorite cards in the game, period, right now, because 1, I love the YRP combo, and 2, it just does everything you want it to do. It pays for itself, it draws you a card, and lets you curve out in other things like your Zidane, or maybe you want to play a 5-drop following it up. Pain is just so good at doing what she wants to be doing, and again, you're playing Maria, so it's going to be an 8K as well. It's a pretty good spot to be in. So guys, that is our top 5 win cards for Final Fantasy up into Opus 4 meta. Let us know in the comments below what your top 5 was. Was I pretty on the ball with all this, or was I completely off? Let us know. If you guys liked this video, make sure to drop us a like. Don't forget to subscribe as well. It helps us out a ton. And stay tuned for future Final Fantasy trading card game content. So on behalf of myself and the rest of the 6 Sages Gaming crew, have a good one. This video made possible thanks to our Patreon supporters. Thank you to our honorary sages.